This oral presentation is presented by Nicole Gazaleh. The foundation of business communication. For any organization, communication is key for its success. So let's take a look at the communication model. So first, there's a communication need that can either come from an organizational situation or the sender's mind. Then the sender will interpret the communication context. They'll identify and analyze the audience, determine the objectives, choose the medium, and then they will create the message. The message could be in any medium, like an email, a conference call, a presentation, or even a voicemail. So then your audience will interpret the message and provide feedback. Then this will allow them to form a response, and the response now is a new message, and the cycle will start again. We'll now discuss the writing process. And to be an effective communicator in the written word, we must understand the process of how to achieve effectiveness. So the first step would be the audience analysis, which is basically studying the background, the personality, the needs, and the experiences of the receiver. Once we have all that, we plan. This is when we would determine the reason for our message, what needs to be presented and in what order. Once we've got that, we begin our draft. This is where we would compose, our first draft of the message that we'd want to send before we actually send our message. Then we want to revise the draft. We want to make sure we correct any errors in content or in the style. Then once we've done that, we want to proofread, double checking, making sure that our content is correct, there's no typos, no format errors. We just want to tie it all nice and neat with a pretty little bow on top before we send out our actual message and make sure that it's saying what we want it to actually say. Now we'll discuss types of messages. First, there is a neutral message or a positive message. It can be presented in any communication medium. And the message is neutral if it's anticipated that the reader will do what's asked without being persuaded. Next, we're going to have a persuasive message. Examples of persuasive messages would be advertisements from companies or even getting your friend's advice on anything. Persuasion is used when we need to motivate someone or get them to believe something that they wouldn't believe otherwise. Finally, we're going to talk about our nonverbal communication. So first, we're going to speak about our body movement, things like our eye contact. It's very important in those face-to-face conversations. We want to be able to maintain the eye contact. It shows that we're listening, shows that we're present. Our hand gestures, when we're in those face-to-face interactions, they add important context, so we want to be mindful of that also. We also want to keep in mind our physical appearance. It's so important for first impressions that you look presentable. And especially in a professional setting, you want to make sure that it enhances your professional image, whether that's with your clothing, your makeup, or jewelry. Even the way that you style your hair could enhance your physical appearance for that professional setting. Also, our voice quality, things like pitch, speed, volume, tone, and even our accents, they carry intentional and unintentional messagings with them. We also want to talk about our time as a form of communication. We want to be present. We want to be on time. We don't want it to come across as we don't care to be there. We want everyone to know that this is where we want to be. This is where we need to be. So show up on time. Touch is another nonverbal communication, which is really frowned upon in Many places you don't want to go around the office touching everyone, but the only acceptable touch in most professional settings is going to be a handshake. Um, that's honestly the best example. That handshake is going to show a willingness to communicate with that person. Also, our space and our territory. So if you're noticing someone who's standing, closer to you or maybe further away, or they're moving their chairs, around to feel more comfortable, we want to be mindful of that. We want to respect that. We want to make sure that they are comfortable, especially when we are the presenters. We don't, want to make them uncomfortable to the point to where they're not even even listening to us. And that concludes this oral presentation. Thank you.